Be sure to subscribe and like our channel.
Hey, hey.
Well, I have been muted. Why have I been muted? I'm not muted.
No, I can hear you.
Welcome.
I can hear you.
Yeah. You know, this software, like I don't have that much going on here, and I'm clearly not at the center right now because we'll talk about that. We were going to have Matt Aaron come on. It looks like there was some scheduling difficulties, and I'll take the blame for that. So if you're watching and expecting him, well, he's the Mastering Magic is a pretty good book. We're not going to talk about it. I mean, there's a lot that I felt like overlapped Hands on Chaos Magic, which is behind me, even though my screen now is like frozen a little bit. Some differences because the book was written 10 years later, but I thought it was a similar purpose. Now, granted, like the reason we had trouble scheduling, although we did reach out to him beforehand, is we just didn't confirm. Probably messed that up a little. Is because I got COVID, and now I'm quarantined again. And I was pretty.
You are.
Well, I think I'm doing pretty well. I'm not in the hospital, so.
Yeah. I mean, that is a good thing, sir. You are not in the hospital.
I know. I mean, my magic to keep myself out of the hospital is pretty good, actually.
Yeah, it is. Proof in the pudding, right?
Well, I mean, really, yeah. I mean, I actually had weird occurrences the whole time. That Zach is my Chinese medical doctor, and I've had weird occurrences with COVID. I mean, some normal, like you get the cough and stuff like that, but some actually kind of odd experiences, like where my eyesight got better. I'm having a lot of problems with the video, so I apologize in advance for that. I'm not sure what's going on with the video.
A little bit laggy, a little bit.
It is. I'm not sure why.
Yeah, it's even laggy on my end, so it just might be melon. So it just might be.
The days of melon might be dying soon.
It might be dying soon because, yeah.
So to bear ambles, I did not get reinfected before I was quarantined because I had a close call. And I left. And I totally didn't get COVID from...
You did. You were clear. You were clear.
Right. But then I got COVID anyway, and I'm not sure how, because I actually wear masks and I don't go out.
Yes, it is.
I think I got COVID the same way you got COVID, bro.
Yeah, it might have been. We suspect
that we both got COVID from Zach's apartment, which
ventilation
doesn't have good enough ventilation.
Yes,
between units. I suspect he got COVID, and then I got COVID there too because I was staying with Zach. Because I'm like, well, guess what? Everyone in my house has it, so I'm going to go where there's no COVID, and that was probably a dumb idea.
Yeah.
So yes, we're having lots of video issues with.
I can't even see the video right now, even on my end. Like my tab's frozen, so I don't know what's up with Melon.
Melon, the internet, it could be a, Russian DDoS.
I don't know. I mean, it is laggy AF on my end. So, and that's me even, not even like viewing, right?
Well, and we both have gigabytes, so it's kind of like, what?
Yes.
Sometimes I also wonder, because Google just did a release, and we never know if that's causing it or not. So if you are playing a deeper down the rabbit hole drinking game, you have several drinks. Slow video, guest, not showing up. Let's keep going. If this was like, maple whiskey,
we'd be dead.
Maple whiskey, we'd be dead already by the beginning of the show. but I think what we can talk about is like actually some of the things we're going to talk about, but we just won't reference uh,
Yes,
the book because we have a policy, official policy. Live radio stuff happens,
stuff
um,
happens.
and we basically have a policy to not talk about an author's material if they're not here, and that
Hmm.
includes when other authors raise other authors' material to either challenge or talk about it. We try to steer them away from that since they're not here, and that's sort of like it's too easy to have misunderstandings.
Yep.
Um, and not work it out in real conversation when you actually do that. And that's not what we're going to do because we don't need a witch war,
We don't.
except for one particular aspect of things that we will get into a witch war. So if you personally believe that you can't do an evocation or an invocation till you are a third degree high priest of in a whole country, um, and then want to go around and say like everything you possibly teach or otherwise any skill should be free, you're probably not a friend of our store, us, or any magicians I know.
True
I'll
that.
just
True that.
I'll just say that
True.
right off the bat. Like magic's a skill. We spend a lot of time actually learning magic. Magic is free is a nice concept until you spend, I don't know, I don't know how many thousands of dollars did our library cost to build that we like opened up to the public.
Uh,
Although the fact is our
a
library was
lot.
free, so now I'm being counterintuitive, but
Well, you're not. I mean, really, for the library, it's for sponsors, and it could be as a minimum
it's
of
not for
$10.
sponsors though, bro. The sponsors can actually take out books,
Yeah,
but
they can take out
anyone can
books.
come here and actually go look at the books.
Oh
They
yeah, they
can
can
spend
totally look at the
hours
books.
sitting grabbing a chair. We're not going to kick them out.
No, they can read the books while they're here. Pulling it out is a sponsor
Yeah,
thing.
I mean,
Yes.
yeah, I mean that's just like having a credit check. If someone in the street's like, "Oh yeah, let's check this out," we'd be like, and
Yeah.
some books you can't check out, like the Hyatt books on
That
Hoodoo.
books ain't
We're
going
like,
down.
"Nope, you're not leaving the store." But you can actually see the actual Hyatt books here, and then I got recently. We're always buying books, like so. This idea that everything should be free, I'm not a fan of it. Like, and
No, it's a
actually, Reiki, when we have a Reiki program, Yasui Sensei was not a fan of this. So,
well,
like, because basically people think what you have is not worth anything, and that's pretty much the whole modern society in a nutshell. I mean, really, it is. It's the whole modern society is everything is free.
yeah, and it's more about exchange. It's more about exchange.
Well, it has to be about exchange, right? I mean, if you're a third degree, you have to be a third degree, and no one can get to be third degree, and you never summon spirits because it's dangerous. First
Hmm.
of all, I've said this before. It's not like paganism is a mainstream. It is mainstream, but it's not like it's the majority religion. So
Yeah, it is.
why would people go to this alternative religion with alternative gods if they weren't
Yep.
getting something right
Right.
away? Some real experiences, right? And plus that like all of the magical stuff when you get away from it being super religious and then get away with the politics of religion and domination, which is
Hmm.
what's going on. It's domination, control, and what I consider unethical behavior in this particular case.
Yep.
What you get out of it is no fair exchange and nobody with real skills. And there is a real skill set that um, they magic works more like a technology oftentimes. Like
Yep.
you can get more. It's more like a martial arts than technology. You got right technique plus right skill and right practice equals good results in most cases.
Hmm.
I don't know. There's an arguable point. You want to argue with me, Zach?
Well, there's no real argument on that, right? I mean, it is chop wood, carry water. It is a skill set that you're developing. I mean, 10,000 hours minimum for mastery
Well,
and
right. I don't
competencies.
think you need 10,000 hours though to get most spells, get a basic level spell working. Like, I think you need a lot less
No,
than that.
You,
I mean, this is consistent with the core mastering magic and spellcasting book too. I mean, like, even though we're not going to talk more about it, is really close to what they're talking about. Like this chop wood, carry water, these basics add up
well,
iteratively.
absolutely. It's like,
Which
simple things like doing daily cleansings adds
I
up,
everyone poo poos that, but I mean, it's really like, I don't know. Think about it. Like you change your underwear every day.
right?
I mean,
Change your underwear,
somebody is
take a
going to tick you
shower,
up.
wash your hands.
Well,
like,
somebody's going to tick you off during the day, right? And
yeah.
like, if you believe in any hermetic axioms, it's pretty simple. Like, if you believe in the chakras, if you believe in the meridians, you believe in hermetic axioms, like, okay, if that energy agitation's there in you, you're building agitation into your world. And then next
Hmm.
thing, that's going to build more agitation around you. I mean, that's the simplest explanation for these kind of ideas of why do you cleanse every day? Well, because you don't want that to spread into the world and then make a feedback cycle. I mean, a loop cycle, basically, like where your body is agitated, it's drawing agitated energy to you. Agitated people come around you, which agitate you more, and then you basically get more agitated until it goes to a more severe uh, emotion like anger, and then that goes into other severe emotions like depression or anxiety or whatever combination it is. I'm like, and then basically, then your whole cognitive structures change at what state of cognition and emotional reactivity you're at. So like even what you think is logical is usually not. It's usually based on this internal concept
Well,
of where you're at, what you're we call it energy, but you could leave that term on the side and say
hmm
energy is a model for the subconscious mind. There's a
right.
controversial statement I just made.
But that's our general take on things, right? I mean, you and me both through
Well, I don't
practice
think
and
it
experience.
is a model, right? I think it's a model implies that it is just the subconscious mind and you're talking about energy, but it's really just psychology. But
Right.
really, I think it's more like correlated processes. So, like your body puts out energy all the time. That's basic chi theory.
Yeah.
Um, your subconscious mind regulates and is basically the sort of internal conceptualization of the body. More or less. That's a gross simplification, but basically, any change in the subconscious mind or change to your energy will thus change anything changing your energy, which is the energy field around your body, change your subconscious mind at a one-to-one basis.
Yep.
Is that about right? To give a more complicated, but not saying it's exactly the same, but it's.
Well, I mean, it is on the point, and this is an easy segue into, well, the mantra workshop you're having tomorrow, right?
Well, it is kind of.
So if someone's actually doing a basic uh, energy technique, at that point, the ripples start to change, and everything else starts to change around that.
It is. I mean, that's the basics of hermetic magic, right? That's the
Hmm.
basics of. I mean, it sounds bad. It sounds like so simple, but we had this whole discussion with our whole Reiki students, some of our Reiki students recently,
Yep,
and they argued with you about this,
that they did.
right?
That they
Because
did.
they did. They argued that they're perfectly fine, and we're like, that's not
Mm,
possible.
no way. No. Reflections
But
in life
why?
say otherwise.
Yeah, conditions in life say otherwise. Like that's the thing. If you're able to have perfect chakras without, and you're worried about rent, you're not actually calibrated to your chakras. It's
No.
just true. It's just this isn't an insult. It's just the truth. Like, right? If you are unable to, I don't want to say have physical pleasure because that sounds so naughty, but I mean, like, it's not just sex. If like simple physical stimuli give you no pleasure at all, you're probably in your head, and your sacral chakra is probably messed up. It is
Yeah,
just true. Like there's no way that this is not happening. Like, and the idea is like because you see it, you visualize it, and you go through the exercises, it's true, but your body says it's not. It's
yeah,
not. Um, Willpower is a little bit tougher, right? Because willpower is a mental construct, but it's not really, right? Willpower is sort of a fortitude measure in a way.
yeah.
Like, so you can almost measure it of like, what's your first response? Like, when stuff goes sideways. Okay, is your first response, fuck it? Well, if that's your first response, that's certainly not your willpower chakra is certainly not all in, right? Like it's having issues. So if you visualize it and it's perfectly circular, like a golden disc, and you're like, awesome,
Hmm.
that's not real. Like it's actually not true. Because
Yeah,
basically, you know by the inner reaction in your body that it's not true. And that's what all these basics are getting to. They're like, it's multifaceted, like making sure that everything is calibrated to where you're actually at. And then
yeah.
basically that's more honest. It's
It is.
easier to actually make magic happen when you're being honest. And I think
Yeah.
maybe that's the thing we should focus on in this jam session is most people are dishonest with themselves. And that's not an insult to everyone. Most people want to believe things are okay. They
Well,
want to
right.
believe everything is perfect and everything is good in the chakras, everything's good in the meridians, everything's good when they map the tree of life. But what's the point if it's not a diagnosis tool?
Well, yeah. I mean, that, even talking on that point, we could go into so many different directions.
Well, we have
I
40
mean, it
minutes, bro.
absolutely. So this is where, I mean, I would look at that and say, well, one, it's most people want to put their head in the sand and say, everything's perfectly fine. And this goes back to the honesty point. But if you're not diagnosing the world through the tree of life, through the chakras, through the meridians, whatever you want to use as a map, at that point, it's going to be, what's the point of doing that?
It's
Because
wishful it's
it's
wishful
wishful thinking.
escapist fantasy. Just like having a whole organization that is using social control to prevent people from communicating with spirits um, from a spiritual magical point of view, that is horrid, right? Like from an actual real
Yeah,
magical point of view. If you were to spend 2 months with us, like you would be doing invocations, like,
yeah,
and they would be safe and they would be successful. 2 months, if you just came around the store and volunteered to clean, you would get
yeah,
enough to do
legit.
actual
You
real
would, you would.
evocations. It's true. Like
It is. We've tested this multiple
two
times.
months, you'd be able to like out evoke. I don't know, not the majority of people, but the majority of book people. You'd be like, I got this. I know how to do it now.
Yeah,
We've even to the point of Goetia. No magical experience to Goetia. 3 months. It wasn't
yeah.
that even that bad. It was sort of like it wasn't every day they were here either. They
No, it
picked up
was like once a
enough,
week. It was once a
right?
week.
So you're gonna tell me like 10 years people can't get enough information against spirit? Like that's legitimately calibrated to the way magic works in the world? What kind of hellscape world is that? That's worse. Like, okay, well, we might not live in a high magical anime world, but that's some horseshit level world.
That,
Like
that is. At that point, it's like going to work. Welcome to Groundhog Day. It's like, why bother? Like that's
well,
what.
I would argue that. I mean, on both cases, like if you're not getting magical results, you know, refine the process, or get some coaching to get it down. Like we're not the only coaches. There's a lot of good coaches.
No, there's a lot of good
Uh,
coaches out there.
a lot of good coaches to get your magic back on shape. But still, you get a hire a professional to fine tune it, or something to help you kind of see the blind spots. That should be perfectly okay, you know. Or on the flip side of that, if you're seemingly getting awesome internal magical results where you think everything's okay and life doesn't reflect that, again, you got to recalibrate that.
Right. because it's one of these, again, the axiom of microcosm, macrocosm. It might not
Right.
be exactly a full switch on the macrocosm, but you should see ripples that things are changing.
You might be able to change your inner state and not see the external state change right away.
What?
Although, like that's surprisingly how fast the outer state can change
Hmm.
sometimes. But it should show ripples that it's the dam is breaking. There's a whole inertia that you have in the life system, like as in the whole system of our realities with social context and interchange. Usually, the first place you'll actually see a successful ritual that changed yourself as slightly, even
Yeah,
NLP, is in your social network.
yeah,
Uh, it seems
that's
to
where it
be the
shows. Yeah.
that's where it shows the first. People will act weird towards you. They'll ask you if, well, they're not going to ask Zach, did you get a haircut? Because that would just be really, really weird and rude. Uh, Maybe they would actually just to be rude. Like, did you get a haircut? Haha. But still, even people joking halfway like that is saying something's different about you.
Yep.
Why is something different about you? I'm not comfortable with something different about you, so I'm going to make a cruel comment
Hmm.
about something being different with you. And that could be an energy change or a subconscious change, which changes in energy
Yep.
directly. Um, and that's your cue
That
that
is.
something's going on. That's a cue that whatever you're doing is working. Um, because whenever you make a major change, a self empowerment change, some people got to go.
Yeah, they do.
New people will come in your life, but some people got to go because they're sort of holding your energy back where you would otherwise be free, and they make it known that they're not pleased with your new energy.
Hmm.
Like, well, why are you doing that? Like, I don't understand. Like, or they get hostile to you, or they just sort of fall away. All the things are possible because basically they're sensitive to the energies, and when you change the energy, you change the representation of yourself in their subconscious mind, or it's challenging that representation. And if you're too far of sync, it gets scary.
Yeah, because it forces a change in their reality where they have to reflect if they want to even do that or not.
Well, they have to reflect on, think about you. And if they have to think about you, they're not thinking about their favorite topic
Yes.
themselves. Come on, that was good, Zach.
It is. It is good. It is good. It is the lowest maximum effort, right?
Really, that's how the subconscious mind keeps us alive. It's the minimal amount of effort with the maximum amount of gain
Hmm.
for the energy. That principle works good to maintain inertia. And it's pretty good principle to actually maintain us being alive.
Yeah.
Right?
I
That's why
mean,
we don't get lost every time we go to work. We kind of memorize the set of anchors and cues to actually know the route without knowing the route because it's
yeah.
energy efficiency. People don't understand the brain works off of energy efficiency like a machine. So the subconscious mind is trying to minimize the thought of every single
Hmm.
deed to minimize the amount of sugar consumption, which sounds really weird, even though like some of us, like myself, are overweight a little bit. It sounds really weird to say the brain wants to minimize the sugar consumption, but this is how we evolved. And
Yeah.
so, even magically speaking, like what is it doing? Is it's trying to minimize thought every single time. Um, that's a brain feature, not a bug, actually.
Yeah. And so when magic starts happening and people are getting into alternate trance states, what's that do to the brain then, right?
Right, it messes with your own brain, but the mere fact your energy has changed, it messes with other people's brains because they start going, they might
Hmm.
not have a word for it. Like people don't, everyone thinks that only certain people are psychic, but most people have a fair amount of psychic ability.
Yeah.
They just incorporate it with cues and body language. They incorporated the psychic ability with a holistic approach to what they're paying attention to. So you can test this and see that it's not just the physical senses by
Yeah.
doing double blind studies. And the double blind studies look something like, Okay, well, put somebody in one room, put somebody in another room, have them think about an emotion, and a lot of times, and you have the other person think about the other person, and they can usually describe the ballpark, right? We all
Yeah,
have
I
different
think.
words for the emotions that the people are feeling, but um, they can get in a ballpark, even
Yeah.
a little bit better ballpark than good or bad, right? They can get in a ballpark of happy, you know, confident, like sad, anger, like the real core emotions. But even that's sort of getting to a pretty good uh, double blind method of kind of testing
Well,
that.
yeah. There's been a lot of studies on that. I think MIT actually did a few, and they put them on opposite spectrums of the university campus to even go
Right,
further.
right, right. So the only thing at that point is you don't know what emotion the person's feeling, but you know that they're going to feel an emotion. And there
Hmm.
might be no emotion, might be neutral too, a neutral emotion, which would be for MIT a double blind at
Yeah.
that point because you have a spatial thing and you don't know what emotions there, and there's a control group,
Yep.
and it's not always 100%, but it's statistically valid, which means it's probably over 75%
Hmm.
that people were in the right ballpark. Again, like weird stuff, uh, and people don't have to know each other. That gets weirder because you could make some sort of biological imprint. But even that's a
Yep.
tough sell when you're on a different side of campuses. Um,
Yeah.
like some sort
Yeah.
of pheromone answer is really hard across campus. Like even then, you're like, well, how does that happen across campus with no camera? There's no
Right.
body cues. So you can test it, but the whole point is that we holistically use our psychic senses and physical senses at the same time. And like it's tough because that's why people dismiss magic actually. If someone's walking around more confident, you could say, well, there ain't no energy thing here going on
It's just they're
because
confident.
they're
Right.
just confidence, right? Yeah, that's it. And right then, right, people are more likely to be around confident people. It's just a contagion effect from the emotions and mirror neurons. I kind of wanted to go on a little bit of side of some of the studies that actually were done to say that
Right.
no, there is actually an energy effect too. But when we're in public and we're working with people, generally it's the holistic whole of all the psychic and physical senses that will tell you something ain't right with this person. They're not in line with the previous story that you had about that person. And what changed? What changed? What changed? What changed? The easy answer is if it's easily dismissed or people are not very good friends is, oh, you got a haircut.
Right.
Did you lose weight? Okay, okay, I got it. Now that's what changed. You have no idea what changed, but you can kind of cherry pick the simplest things and say,
Well,
well, it's this.
even from a conversation yesterday, I mean, someone was like, they knew me a few, like we haven't seen each other for months, and they essentially said, "How are you?" I'm like, "I'm good." They're like, "Are you sure?" Right? Just even that, because I haven't seen the person for months, and even that was a questionable piece. Of like, is this your new good? Right?
Right, right, because they don't know you. Were you pretty good?
Hmm. Yeah,
How
I
are you
was. I
feeling?
was. I was like, I was feeling pretty good. I was gonna get my Timmies. Apparently, it's roll up the rim, which I didn't even know. So I
Oh,
was
I'm
like,
stuck
yeah.
in COVID land and it's roll up to Timmy's. My life, my life. Oh, no, no,
I
it's
was
roll up to
pleasantly
win and I'm
surprised when I
stuck
pulled
with
the app.
COVID. What?
I was pleasantly surprised. It's like, oh, it's that time again.
Oh no, no, I'm stuck in the house when it's roll up to win. Oh no. If you're not from Canada, roll up
If
to
you're not
win
from
is like
Canada,
the only reason you go to Tim Horton. Like people, seriously, it's the only reason some people go to Tim Hortons because you can win all these prizes. But now they made it not fun actually.
yeah,
Like now you just roll up to the window and you're like, oh, please scan my
you
phone,
press
and
the
then
button,
right, you press the button and you're done. Where before you had to like save
roll
your
it
cup,
up, let it
roll up your
back.
lid, and you're like, okay, did I win? You're like,
You had to work
ah,
for it. You had to
yeah, you
work
had to
for it
work
back
for
in
it.
the day.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you know, I mean, it
Yeah.
was cool. And now, eh,
Eh.
eh. I still feel
But that,
bad about missing it because I'm like, I usually actually win a whole bunch of free
you do.
coffee.
You win a bunch.
I do. Like I win
And
a lot actually on roll up to win.
it'll be like, here's another one to win another one. You're like, all right, I'll take it.
I got like 10 free coffees this week. Yeah. I mean, there you go.
But
I
going
mean,
back
I
to
think
the
the
social
social
pieces,
aspect.
yeah.
Well, there's a lot too people don't understand. Like, this is where it doesn't matter how much magical changes you make if your social environment's truly delimitating. It's going to limit the
Hmm.
expression of your greater magical changes. Like, people don't want to believe that, but it's true.
Well, it's like the running joke, right? When, you know, uh, people are like, oh, I want to get dates, and they may do all this Venus work, but they don't go out of the house, right? It's like,
Well, I think
you're,
it's more complicated than that too, right? Like, you're doing the basics of magic, right? You say you want to get a new job, but you don't realize that the new job is partially out of your reach because of your boyfriend or girlfriend, right? Because
Mhm.
basically they limit your self-esteem expression, so you can't actually have the confidence to
Right.
do what you need to do. Like, and people don't see those things as correlated, but they are.
They
Like,
are.
yeah, if you're getting beat up at home all the time because of how stupid you are because you lost a job, um, or even people like you, something like that happens, and if that does happen, I'm really, we're here for you. Like,
Yep.
don't let people beat you up for over that. That happens now. It
It
happened
does.
before, right? But I mean, the truth is that if people start beating you up, like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? It's like, well, there comes a point where you lose your confidence and are unable to do anything about that,
Hmm.
right? Like, it's true. Like,
That's
and
true.
then that becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, an anchor, as it were, to your state that gets kind of anchored to the future. So you can cast all the magic you want, but you're working against the own drag of your own self image at that point. That is from a social constraint, right?
Yep.
It could get a lot worse actually when you do a job spell in that situation. Now, this is a hypothetical
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah.
Um, so if I'm describing anyone's situation personally and they feel called out, I'm not calling you out, right? Like, it's really I'm making this up on the fly. But it could
Yeah.
be something that basically, losing the job situation has to get worse. So, like, almost like you have to get kicked out of the house because the relationship has to break, and then the job comes right away.
Yep.
And that seems counterintuitive. But to get a job, one of the prerequisites in your psyche was that you have to have enough confidence to get a job. And as soon as you remove the confidence toxin, the negative
Hmm.
energy from your like sphere, all of a sudden there's enough room to get a job. Or the same is true reverse, right? People think a job doesn't affect their love life, but the opposite's also true. Like, if a job
Absolutely.
is destroying your sort of mental calm and your ability to enjoy anything because it's so toxic, then all of a sudden, well, guess what?
Hmm.
Guess what? All of a sudden, it's going to be hard for everyone to um, be able to have any sensations of joy. So,
Well,
what does
right.
that do for a relationship? There ain't any. There can't be any. Well, there could, but I mean, you have to be pretty sociopathic to be in a relationship with no joy and then just basically, no history. Like, that's kind of weird.
Yeah, that is. That
Like,
really is.
then there's some other reason for you to be even doing that.
Yeah, I mean, and this gets into the flipping of social relationships. It's like when you change, your energy changes, the social environment changes, everything has to change across the board. Because
Right.
that's where I mean, it goes back to psychology again in some ways, where what? I think it's like you're the average of three people you hang out with most, or something along those lines.
Right. And maybe the magician's a little buffered by that, a little buffered from that. but still, it's a limiting factor that might be broken by any spell work you actually do. Like
Hmm.
those three people might change greatly.
Yes.
But I mean that said, like yeah, that stuff like I need to rewrite it, but it's all in the shapeshifting class, like which I
Yeah.
should
Yeah.
start up a cohort again. Um,
Absolutely.
Instead of like the $3,000 price, if you really want to take it without a cohort, that it drops to 300 when I'm actually running a cohort.
Yeah.
I know.
Peeps, it's worth it. Do it. Do it if you're
Well,
listening.
I think I'm gonna rewrite it now that I've actually been doing the show more and seeing the language that other people use. I'll just copy the language, but my intuition about how magic works has still not been. Um, I still think I have a clearer idea how this mind body and
Yeah.
energy interface works than most books I've read. Like, I might have used really technical language, but I could simplify the language, but I really don't think most people get it. And I think most people would actually, the model that I would propose of how this work is somewhat testable through double blind studies. Like,
Yeah.
I'm ready for magic to be proven to be real. How about you?
Oh, totally am. Totally am.
And that's controversial. Like, we'll take off the mystery parts of this. I still think there's a mystery part of it.
Well, there's
There's
always a
the
mystery. Yeah.
there's the observation. There's the physical neurochemical reactions to magic that I think the body actually has that you can study and that you can produce. And I think those neurochemicals are what makes up the energy soup that we can kind of
Hmm.
broadcast out that allows for inner psychic communication across energy wavelengths. Like, I guess,
Yeah.
across the. But then I think there's a how do you go from point A to B? There's the that matters. Like that arrow from A to B of the subjective experience is a vast gulf sea that describes the subjective experience of most magic that we we could skip that, but uh it sort of matters. It sort of matters a lot how you construct that inner space and how you get from point A to B. Um,
Absolutely does. I mean, it gets
Arguably speaking,
into,
point B isn't possible to get to without the construction.
well, yeah, and even like what is the scaffolding, what is construction? Because I mean, that now gets into whole things and segments into Chinese medicine, where there, you have some schools of thought trying to modernize it, say it's all electrical impulses. Other ones are saying it's chemical. Other ones are just saying no, it's straight energy. So I mean, there's already
I
debates
can
around that.
prove I can prove all three of those wrong right
Right.
now with simple studies.
Yeah.
We can prove the electrical impulses wrong
Yeah.
right from doing double blind studies like MIT did,
Yep.
right? We can prove the it's just energy and it's nothing else if we have extensive lab work on the supply
Hmm.
lab work that we can do when people are doing stuff. So that kind of
Correct.
proves the only energy and no other components because there's actually a physical response to
There's actually a
energy.
physical response.
And then that also is like how you can disprove the all its energy by the neurochemical, not neural, but the
Exactly. The
EKG
synapses in
reading,
place. Yeah.
synapse firing that you can monitor. So you can kind of disprove every one of those three wrong
Yeah.
based on one of the three. And then you can kind of
Exactly.
prove sort of exactly what we're talking about that all three are happening at the same time,
Hmm.
which means there's something called analogs of the system. They are very much like the elephant parable when three blind men
Yep.
are given different parts of the elephant. They're all describing the elephant, except they can't tell what they're doing because they're blind. So, but they're touching three different parts of the elephant, and there's three different sensations in each part of the elephant. And this is a lot what keeps going on. This is what
Yeah.
science has trouble with, actually. The reason science has so much trouble with these kinds of things outside of systems theory is besides that it's got a materialist bent in a lot of cases.
Hmm.
Um, it actually is science's general motto is about dividing into the smallest possible measurable thing and then
Yeah.
conquering it, right? And when you talk about co-influenced systems, it gets a lot harder for it to follow its normal methodology, which is divide to the simplest unit that you can get to and then measure, which is a good strategy. It's actually made stuff like space travel and cell
Yeah.
phones and um, microwaves all possible, but it gets into a hard strategy in higher mathematics, probably hyperspace calculations, which is the thing I actually think is going to be when magic comes into play, for better or worse. Is once we can get faster than light travel, I think computers are going to fail us, and it's going to be intuition, some sort of structured intuition. But that's just me being a futurist. Um, but I think realistically, though, then you also have like even modern medicine getting to this
Oh
weird
yeah, it
place in
is.
some cases where like there's a whole brand of medicine in the United States called integrative medicine, which
Hmm.
sort of accepts that Chinese medicine and chakra work is real and it actually
Yep.
has real effects. And that field of medicine generally gets better effect is generally getting better impacts than regular medicine. Now, granted, they're still medical doctors. So you
Yeah.
know what? Someone gets a leg infection, they get
What do they
antibiotics,
know?
right?
Yeah.
If someone gets cancer, they're still going to say, well, maybe chemo, right? But then they combine it with other stuff like, well,
Well, best working
maybe we use
theory.
acupuncture to mitigate the chemo. So the body's much stronger against the chemo and it's better results.
Well, right.
Um,
I mean, I'd be the first person to say, I've told people this before. I'm like, you have a structural problem. I don't care what needles you throw in. You might be able to get the muscles and things to relax because you're throwing in needles, but a structural problem is still a structural problem, and that
right,
needs an adjustment.
right, right, right. So there's not like what we're talking about, even at the body levels. It's
Yeah,
getting weird with a lot of medicine now.
it
Like
is. It really is.
woo woo weird, not weird in a um, they don't understand what's going on, but
No.
it's being forced to re-examine a lot of the sort of Western assumptions about how the mind body works,
Hmm.
um, which they'll never call magic. No one will
Yeah.
ever use the word magic in it.
Well, what's the word
Um,
they use? It's placebo, right?
well, this goes a little deeper than even that, like mindset,
Right.
extended mindset. I mean, when you actually study meditation, it's amazing how much they know about meditation now.
Yeah, it
Stuff that
is.
we've been saying for a while.
Hmm.
Uh, that mystics knew for a while. Okay, the obvious first tier things is meditation, lower stress. You think? I mean, that's obvious ones.
Yeah.
But it has odd other effects too. Like if you're neurodivergent or you've got like ADHD or you've got PTSD, certain types of meditation actually like strengthen your focus even against those natural genetic conditions or natural cognitive conditions that happen as a result of life damage. Um,
Yep.
and and when we talk about that magically speaking, obviously, and like it obviously improves magic because you can better focus on what your outcome is. But I mean, it
Yep.
actually has just generally better than what you'd expect performance benefits on some of these conditions. Even stuff like I don't think they call it bipolar anymore. It's like
Uh,
dicep. I forgot the exact name,
right.
but it has some benefits if people do
Right.
it religiously. Not religiously because people go to religion once a month, but I mean disciplinedly, like every
Right.
day. It has vast improvements in how this actually doesn't seem to spiral out of control.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, the research and feedback that we're seeing, it is amazing to see a lot of what would be called hidden secrets previously just out there in
Right.
the open. If you,
They are becoming more open. Um, on the flip side of that, people are faster to ignore those things, right?
yes.
Like, because now it's like we're in an age of sort of disinformation. So,
Mm.
it's actually kind of funny because I was reading some COVID literature, obviously,
Right.
because,
Well, yeah.
well, I got COVID. And one of the things is I was reading Chinese COVID. Uh,
Yep.
papers. And so I've been drinking a lot of ginger as a result of that reading of Chinese acupuncture. We lost Zach there. I'll just keep going. But I was drinking a lot of ginger and blessing ginger as a result of reading some of the Chinese paper, which showed a correspondence, positive correspondence from drinking ginger or eating ginger or ginger abstract to reducing lung kind of severity damage issues of COVID. And um, I instantly was struck by the fact they um, and that was it. Like, and basically I saw papers right away criticizing that ginseng paper that I'm referring to
Mm-hmm.
because it didn't go into the neurochemical uh, breakdown of exactly why ginger could do that. And I'm like, well, that's what you should be doing now at this point is researching the why. The fact
Yeah.
that the fact that Chinese showed a statistical like impact of this with COVID, like, isn't in fact that's the kind of level of results you get in a possible a weird multi impact system like
Yes.
ginger essence could have a spiritual effect, it could have an energy effect, but when you consume it from the spirit of the plant it could have a neurological and neurochemical effect and a chemistry effect, so it can have all these effects at once. Right, so you don't necessarily know why the effect is there, but it was double blind, so that means people with placebo, it did better than a placebo, which already has an impact. So again, you read the papers criticizing that, it's like, well, they didn't get down to the point of why, and it's like, well, I think you're missing the point here. There's a lot of studies that are talking about these effects happening, which we've talked about before. A
Yes.
lot of like medical effects happening that, as far as we can read it, and when you read it, they're trying and searching for the term magic. They don't want to use the term magic, but they're searching for it. It's
Mm-hmm.
like they can't use the term because that's forbidden. Um, to talk about spirituality by the culture of science, but it's right there. It's like in between the lines. It's the white elephant that's, how is this happening? And you have to come to a conclusion of something like magic, except maybe
Mm-hmm.
it's non-linear, chaotic derivational units.
Deviations or whatever, right?
You got it. It was a good one. It was pretty good. That was a good phrase. I mean, I'm
It
pretty
was a
good at
good
these
phrase. It was
pseudo-scientific phrases. Read
right.
some of these scientific papers, Zach. Really read them, and you'll see people make up words. You
Oh,
know they're made up
I
words
know they
too.
make up words. I've
Let's
read
take the
them.
time. Here. I'll put it into scientific language here. I'll do it right now. Let's take the time to define a new term. That's the hint. Whenever you see that, like,
Mm-hmm.
let's take the time to define a new term. Okay, I mean, you're adding a new word to the language and describing what that term is to describe something. Okay, no magic involved,
No
nothing
magic
there.
involved, nothing, just
Just
a new word. We're throwing it in because, Shakespeare did it, right?
right. So why not in a medical paper? Why not in a scientific journal paper? Let's just go. New words, fun.
Yep. Yep. It's
I mean,
pretty
can I
funny
can
when
only
you.
can say that because I basically am scientifically literate enough to actually
Well,
read these
right.
papers and read
You and
between the
me
lines and
both,
be.
and we read it, and it's pretty funny. It's pretty
It
funny.
is. It is pretty funny when they do that. You're like, really? You can't describe the effect per se, so you can just put in a placeholder word here
Well,
and describe what the effect is that you're seeing. And let's leave it at that.
pretty much. Pretty much.
Good enough. Ship it.
Ship it, put it out on paper, publish it. We're good. We're good.
Yeah,
It's
we're
official
good. We're
now.
good. We're good. We're good. We're good. Well, our jam session got us to 652.
Oh,
Part Duax had a question about and reinfected with what, COVID.
yeah.
This is the
Well,
first time I actually got
it's
COVID.
the first time
I'm
you
doing pretty
actually
good,
got it.
actually.
You're doing pretty good.
Wow. I could talk about that. That I think I wouldn't have got it except there was some incidences, magical incidences.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think outside I was was pretty good, but then it got a little too choppy in the water, and you know, I
Hmm.
think that's how it is. But I
That's
do
how it
think,
goes.
even oddly speaking, that my eyesight's a little better after COVID. It's a odd
That is an
situation.
odd situation. I mean, not what you would expect.
No, no, and my eye color changed when I got COVID again.
Yeah,
See, look,
it is.
right? It's usually like green, but not like this.
No, not like that. You got more of a grayish blue going now.
Right. So both, I think, weirdly, like speaking COVID, like got some had some eye impacts, and my eye color changed slightly from COVID, which is a weird effect.
Hmm.
Like my eyes usually not gray like this; they're hazel,
Yeah,
and gray and blue, like usually, and now they're
yeah,
like weirdly supernatural looking.
that they are. That they are.
I know, right? Isn't it like that? Like, look at them. Like they're
You
a
got
little
the
bit like
anime eyes going, man. You got the anime eyes going.
they are. I mean, it's kind of cool. I don't have to wear contacts at a con. That's
Yeah,
pretty
that is
good, right?
true. That is pretty cool.
It's like I'm the Ice Blade sorcerer.
Ice make?
I was doing a newer anime, but yeah, if we're gonna do
Yeah.
Ice Make, let me go take off my shirt, right? Ice Make, show that I know like fairy
Yeah.
tale lore.
Yep. Yep.
So it's six. It's we've got 6 minutes yet.
That's 6 minutes.
So what do we got going on?
Well, you got the mantra workshop tomorrow at one
Right.
thirty.
So we're gonna do the mantra workshop. If you come to the store, again, 607 Gerard Street,
It'll be
East
online. It'll be online.
Chinatown. We'll put it on the big screen TV because I'm in quarantine. So,
He's in
uh,
quarantine, but it
but
will
I'm
be on the
still going to run the
screen.
class. I'm still going to run the class. So we were going to do a Ganesh Puja.
Yep.
So instead, what we're going to do is go over how to use the Ganesh mantra properly. And we're opinionated about this, as in anti-priest opinionated, almost.
Tantra life.
Kinda. I mean, the priest opinion is if you say any of the syllables wrong, you curse yourself to damnation to hell. That
And
literally
you
is.
that is the take. And on top of that, you get like X amount of years of karma.
Yeah, it's the same as saying you're going to go to
Yeah.
hell.
Yeah.
The truth is that we think that's a lie too. Much
Hmm.
like we think that third only having a few third degrees that can ever do any summoning at all in any official manner for a whole country is garbage. I kind of feel
Yep.
the same about that. It's nice to get close to the mantra syllable pronunciation because that helps you get the vibration better. But
Hmm.
if you can get the vibration right, it's right. Uh, and then basically, then it's about how to get the vibration throughout your whole body, so
Yep.
that way it's not just a mental exercise. And if you can do that and connect to what in the Vedics say is the fire of the body, it's a lot like doing homo work, where mantra work has a lot more potency than you would otherwise get.
Yep.
So secrets will be had tomorrow's workshop.
Yes, they will.
Tantra secrets, like actual tantra secrets, will be had in tomorrow's worksheet when we workshop
Shop.
instead of ritual. Yep.
Yeah.
Then the following week, we have, if you're a sponsor, you can come to that workshop free, and it'll be online too. If you're not a sponsor, please become a sponsor. It's QueenCityCurioandApothecaryVideoCast. For people who are not watching still, really, you're gonna go when we're doing our spiel. Nice, nice. That's all I gotta say. We got to keep the lights on, everyone. So help us out. Like, we have good material. We keep the lights on. Um, you keep the lights on, and not more than that, you determine which public shows we do, and you determine what private workshops we do. So if you're a sponsor, you
You
have a
get the
lot of
goods.
say. We ask our sponsors almost every week what they'd like to see. Now, some things I balk at, I'm like, I'm not going to do it. There's only one thing that I balked at, which was Astro Magic. There's a lot of reasons for that, mostly because Astro Magic's synonymous with escapism, and
Yep.
it takes a lot to not make it escapism.
Yes.
Um, But that said, after the Ganesh mantra work. What do we have going on? Then the following week we have
Well, following week we have a workshop with figurine candles for love and emotional work.
hopefully I'm out of quarantine by then. If
Yes.
not, that's going to be a hard class to run.
Well, that's the one I'm running, right?
Oh, good, nice.
But you do, and you should be out of quarantine for the Guan Yin ritual
Right,
the week
because I'll be
after.
doing ritual, like hopefully.
Yes.
So every week we have something, usually on Sunday. Um, if you're a sponsor, so there you go. We are looking for other people to sort of exhibition. Uh, Show us what you got. Maybe we'd love to have
Yes.
some. We'd love to have some Wiccan rituals at the store. Um, if you're a coven, you're in the Toronto area, and you don't believe that the invocation shouldn't happen at third degree, why don't you come on down? Like, we have space. If you make your rituals to the public, maybe we can work something out. If you're a ceremonial magician, same. We just love magic.
We
We
do.
love having
We
hosting
do.
magic. So, you know, uh, there's times that acupuncture center is open, and there's times when it's not, and a lot of times when it's not, we'd love to see it filled up with actual people doing rituals, and magic and whatever. Like, we're pretty open. Like, we
Yeah,
do Goetia, we
we
do
do.
light stuff, dark stuff, whatever, whatever you're into. If you want to try to do it, like, we'll watch. If it's really, you really have a good talent, and it looks good to us, we'll work with you to advertise it. We'll work to get you people there, um, because we just love magic. Like, and
Yes,
we,
we
we
do.
love seeing really effective magic done of all different sorts, even stuff we don't know. Um, Love seeing it. Just love seeing it. So if you're interested in that, reach out to us. Like I said, we'd love to have more rituals. We'd love to have Saturday rituals too.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a little bit much for us personally to do
Yes.
more than one ritual every 2 weeks. But we'd love to do it. We'd love to have you. We'd love to. There's to consider open to the invitation to the universe, and that'll be backed up in a couple weeks too, I think. Um, but we'd love to have you if you've been like scorned by the rest of the community, but you're really talented, which there's a lot of people like that. Who cares? Come on down. Let's see what you got. Let's see it. You
Yep.
know, like, because like I said, more than anything else, even the authors on the show, and sometimes we get a hiss or miss, or sometimes we're not important enough to show up to, or whatever. We truly love the magic. We love being a store where people actually have room to do magic, uh, as opposed to just sell stuff. Um, and the sponsors, you keep the lights on, so thank you. And the sponsors actually help us get those people coming to the store to do ritual work, which is something that a lot of people don't have room for in their own personal house in Toronto. So, I mean, come on down, right? Audition, come on down. We're pretty easy. If you're truly sincere, chances are sincere and motivated and actually uh, really committed to actually doing not hard, but actually going all in for yourself on the ritual, chances are we'll love it.
Yep.
The
Yep.
rituals we hate are the ones where uh, there's a god being called. Where's the god? Where's the goddess? I don't feel any goddess. Do you feel any goddess? No. People who are sincere will be like, oh yeah, yeah, we feel it. Yeah. So come on down. I don't know. Anything else we got going on?
Oh, we got stuff happening every week, so they just have to take a look at the calendar,
Except for
right?
the big thing going
Well, that's
that
in a few
keeps inching
months, right?
closer and closer. July
That's in
1st.
a few months, July 1st. Goetia and
And
names of God.
Semaphorish. Yep. At the same time, every 2 weeks, we're going to do a
Yep.
Goetia summoning through all 72 and all 72 names of God.
So, with that said, if you want in and you want to see those previews, join the QueenCityCurio.ca / become a sponsor or become a member, I should say. And then with that, anything else we got going up? Or we can talk about the next show coming.
Next show, I mean, I don't think we have anything else going on besides
Yeah.
living. Like, I don't even know. Like, I was going to do something like I don't remember how the Margarita song goes, but I was going to basically sing, you know, just having a time in COVIDville. I don't
All
know.
right.
There you go. All
So
right.
there you
See,
go.
next show.
Next show. So we got Mark Savage
Shark
coming on
Joe.
next week. So with that, everyone, stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you next week.
All right. See everyone next week.